Mike, thank you for making the journey.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. Now, you are the Chief Marketing Officer at Grow. First, tell me about Grow.
Sure. So Grow is sales and marketing analytics. We help companies take their data from their CRMs and from their marketing systems and put it in somewhere that they can actually make use of it. CRMs and marketing automation platforms and even Google aren't very good at being able to get the data that's going to be the most useful. And they also don't talk to each other. And so we provide a mechanism. We provide the way for those systems to get the visibility that a business owner will need to make the right decisions for their business.
You make it accessible.
Absolutely.
I mean, all your dashboards are beautiful. They're intuitive, which is probably that pain point that most people experience with other platforms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of the things that really drew me to Grow. I've only been there for a couple of months, but looking at the data where the leads coming in, the revenue, but to be able to see that in one place and to be able to share that with my CEO or with my team and to be able to put us all on the same page, I think has been huge. And that was one of the selling points for me. I've been in data analytics and in marketing for a long time. And I know that's a pain point that all of us have. And now we provide a way for those business owners to see that really quickly and to make the right decisions.
And I mean, we worked with a lot of analysts and we use data a ton, and we find that with data, it's a storytelling mechanism. And you're not just, if you make it overly complicated or convoluted, maybe one person on the team understands it, but it's actually them that needs to share it and get buy-off. It's a team decision on that.
No, absolutely. I think you think about, there's so much complexity that goes into a business, and we talk about it with our teams all the time, that it really is about the story. The data is one thing, but what are you going to do with it? And does it tell you that your leads are up, or that your efficiencies are down, or that your churn is going the wrong direction, and being able to take that and create action with it, simply, without having so much noise. And a lot of analysts run into the issue of having too much data, and they try to kind of throw it out on you, and it doesn't really. You don't get the insights that you really need that will be meaningful enough for you to make the right decisions for your business. And that's what we try to do. We really do that for small and medium-sized businesses who can't afford an analyst, who can't afford a much more expensive tool or a BI team. Mm-hmm. And so we try to provide that for the CEO and for the head of operations or the head of marketing, so that they can go in and they can build their metrics, and they can take their Google Analytics and their Salesforce and their HubSpot data and have it all in one place, easily accessible, sharing with their teams and on their phones and up on screens for the office.
So real time, not everyone's excited about spreadsheets, but give me something that's cohesive and integral.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Now, I know that you've only been with Grow for a couple of months, but looking at Grow, it seems like a really important dynamic to Grow is that culture. That everyone at Grow seems to be really, really happy working at Grow. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think
that focus.
I think we all, as an organization, have the same goal of providing that amazing experience for a customer, where they can go in and they can really run their business. And from marketing to our customer success to sales, we're pretty customer centric. And as we focus on the customer, that also allows us to focus on the things that are the most important, and the things that will help us drive our business are also the things that are helping our customers be successful.
Now I want to talk about you, because Mike, I've been doing some digging, and holy cow, your resume. You have worked with Workfront, Pluralsight, Adobe, Ancestry. Those are some major companies. And tell me, kind of that first, I would love for that first foray into the first company coming out of BYU. You have an MBA in marketing and a BA in broadcast journalism.
Yep.
Same. not in the marketing part, but broadcast journalism. So what took you from broadcast journalism to marketing to ultimately what we've seen from you?
Sure, and I may try to break that down into a few different areas, but
Please, yes.
I got my start right out of the broadcast journalism at BYU, and I went to work for KSL. I was working in a overnight shift, part-time, 11 p.m. to 4 a.m., rewriting the 10 p.m. news to sound like it was fresh at 6 o'clock the next morning.
Yeah.
And but I learned so much about storytelling and about organization of information and about writing to the individual, writing to the person. And I had the opportunity to work with some of the best journalists in the industry. I mean, I worked really closely with Carol Makita and Bruce Lindsay and Dick Norris and Deanie Wimmer, and really just soaked up their experience and their knowledge about how to really tell a great story. Bruce Lindsay was really one of my first mentors, and he used to tell me, write like you're sitting down with a conversation with your grandma at the kitchen table. And I've used that for my whole life, through my whole career, because I think that's how marketing is done. Marketing, if you get too corporate speak, nobody understands it, and it sounds really good until you realize you don't actually know what you just said. And so it really is about being simple and about finding the way to tell the story that's impactful. Mm-hmm. At that point, after a few years, I ran the 6 o'clock newscast for about 3 years, and decided to go back and get my MBA. Spent 2 years in the program, and then ended up at Ancestry, and had a load of different experiences through my career at Ancestry. I don't know how much you want me to get into various pieces, but
we just had Karen Peterson on.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like Ancestry just kind of like kept evolving. And so I feel like everyone I've talked to from Ancestry that started out in one position has had at least 10. Or they just pivot.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of 6 years that I was at Ancestry, I was a product analyst. I moved to retention marketing, and then for the last 4, I ran PR, campaigns, social media, events, and everything else they threw my way.
All the things.
All of those things, and
just give it to Mike.
And man, we learned a lot, and we helped grow the business, and we took them, helped take them public in 2009, and I wouldn't trade it. There was so many things that came out of that, and lots of stories that I could talk about. But it was a terrific experience.
And then from there, going on to, did you go directly to Adobe?
I did. One of the things my goal in my career has been to evolve and to learn, and every step is, what is it that I'm going to learn next? And for me, I'd been at Ancestry for a few years and had the opportunity to go learn B2B demand gen. Very different than anything I'd ever done before. Yeah. And they had been Omniture had been acquired by Adobe about 9 months previously, and so I came over and into a B2B demand gen role and was there for 3 years, working in the digital marketing business unit, which was the former Omniture business unit, and built campaigns for when they launched Adobe Social, and drove demand for the team as they were continuing to grow that business inside of a much larger Adobe corporate entity.
So you've been at the grassroots of most of these major companies. I mean, Adobe, before they had this like big, beautiful building, and they were like a huge presence here in Utah. Like, you were part of that initial stage of.
Yeah, Adobe was, I think it was a $4 billion company at the time that they acquired Omniture. So I'm not, but
in Utah,
in Utah for sure, that we built out, collectively the team that ended up in the building here in Lehigh. We, in fact, when my first day was when they broke ground on the Lehigh office. So that was a fun first day to experience it. But it took them 2 years to finish the building, and they're doing amazing things now.
I feel like in a photo book of all the like starter, like the companies that we know as huge now, you'd just be like a Mike. Just
Maybe.
hanging out in every single
I don't know. I don't know about that, but but I've been fortunate to be in some really great companies at really good times.
Love it. Now, you went from Adobe did you go directly to Pluralsight?
Mm-hmm.
And then you were the Senior Director of Digital and Demand Marketing, which I can imagine is a pretty immense task.
Yeah, and at the time we were building the digital team. There was maybe 5 or 6 people total in marketing, and over the course of a short period of time, we built it up. Got great field marketing in place, digital presence. We built up nurturing and really tried to build the foundation for Pluralsight's both B2C and B2B businesses that they were running. And then it transitioned to Workfront.
Yeah, and Workfront, I mean, you were the vice president of all digital marketing, and that was another 2-year gig. What took you to Workfront?
Yeah, I was actually at Workfront about 3.5. And over the course of the time that I was there, I think I looked at it also from a learning perspective. The role that I took on owned we call them ADMs or SDRs, so the sales development part, which is something I'd never done before, really focused on the digital top of funnel as well as the website and marketing operations. And so it gave me a chance to learn different parts of the business, be involved in sales conversations in ways that I'd never had before, and really work closely with sales and the rest of the marketing team to grow the business.
Now, if you were to advise someone, you've had, these awesome, next iterations of your career. How would you advise someone who's, if they're trying to balance, I like the culture I'm working with, I like my colleagues, but then there's this aspect of growing and learning. How do you balance those decisions jumping to a new company where you feel like you have to sometimes start over with
Sure.
the culture and the colleagues? And it'd be so nice to cruise and just enjoy, right?
Yeah, and I think everybody has a different perspective of what they want to accomplish at different parts of their career. I really enjoyed the time that I had at Workfront, and learned a lot and had a great team. And all the teams that I've had, I've been really pleased with. I've been fortunate to work on and lead some really amazing teams over the course of my career. I think there's something to be said for really understanding and digging into a specific area. And there's also, you look for the opportunities of what will allow you to grow, and what do you want in your career, and do you want to get really good at one thing, or do you want to get pretty good and more well-rounded in other things? And I've gone back and forth throughout my career on those things. I was at Ancestry for 6.5 years, and those were the same types of decisions that I looked at on a regular basis. And I don't think there's a right answer. I think it really is depending on the person and the company and the situation and what they want out of where they are in their career.
We talked to Karen, and she was at Ancestry for 15 years. And she went on a sabbatical, and then she was telling us about what attracted her to Brainstorm. And she had kind of her table stakes of what she was looking at going into a new company. What are your table stakes? Like, what was it that you identified about Grow that would make you leave a company like Workfront?
She's probably more well thought out and detailed about what the table stakes were that she was looking for than me. I think when Rob approached me, Rob Nelson's our CEO at Grow, when he approached me, I think the reasons why I joined Grow, one, I think I really love the product. I love the fact that, and I'm an analytical by nature. It's probably different than a lot of the CMOs and marketing leaders who are probably more on the creative side. But I really kind of lean towards the data and the storytelling of what you can learn from the data, and the fact that the product really did give you the ability as a small business owner, as a mid-market sized company, to be able to understand how your sales were doing, your marketing was doing, and tie that into your finance system in a meaningful way and answer the questions that would be meaningful to your business. I think that really that really spoke to me. I mean, I've been using Tableau for years, and to be able to go, the Tableaus of the world are not accessible for a small company, both for cost as well as for the amount of work that has to happen on the background to the back end to get the data in the position to use it. And we Grow solves that for smaller companies. So I think really a lot of it was that. And I think it was also, I believe my next step was to be able to own a larger part of marketing. It's a much smaller organization than Workfront, but it gave me the ability to kind of broaden myself and to work really closely with creative and PR and field and demand and the messaging in a more holistic way. And honestly, I think Grow is a VC-backed, great. They're growing really well. They're doing all the things that I think were exciting to me. Like I've been at middle stage companies who have already kind of gotten past a lot of the figuring things out, and I wanted the opportunity to figure some of those things out.
How much of your time is spent on those middle stage companies and enterprise companies as kind of leader up companies where you're just managing what's already working versus at Grow? I imagine it's more of the ideating.
Yeah, we're in the middle of every day. We have a small team of 8 people, and we're constantly, collectively trying to do the same amount of work that a team of 30 would do in a larger company. And so, whether that's working through copy or figuring out why a conversion rate is low, or coming up with how our event needs to be structured, and how to drive attendees to it. I mean, all of us are in the weeds every day. And in larger companies, and I think you have the luxury of being able to spend more time in the strategy and in the, we've got a good team who can execute, and they execute really, really well. And we'll get there at some point. And in the meantime, we're all gonna kind of roll up our sleeves and go after getting the work done to grow the business.
Just super scrappy.
Absolutely.
Now, in the ideation phase, is there a process that you have for vetting ideas? Because most ideas are bad ideas, right? And probably the editing of ideas is the nature of what we do in that phase.
Yeah.
I imagine your experience comes into play and looking at data.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like I said, I think for me, I have a decent amount of experience. I've seen lots of pages. I've seen lots of marketing campaigns. I've seen what works really, really well and what doesn't. So I do lean really heavily on past experience. I've got a great team who's stepping in and doing some really remarkable things. And so they provide a lot of the work on, what should we do and how do we get it done, and let's go get it done. And then I do really, really rely heavily on the data, like how well are we performing in various parts of the funnel or on this landing page, and how does that compare to the industry standard? How does that compare to what we've done in the past? And are we going from, are we making progress? I had a CEO, or Alex Shootman at Workfront, used to talk about it would be terrible to come into a position where all the levers have been pulled and you're still not growing, or you're still not making progress. And he's like, it's so much better to have realized that something has been broken for a long time and then have a game plan and go fix it. Mm-hmm. Because then you have somewhere to go, and that you can achieve larger results, better results, because now you know what to go focus on. And I think a lot of it is the whole concept of marketing is test and learn.
Yes. Yeah, that feedback loop.
Absolutely.
Always getting information. Now, you've had teams of various sizes. What is your management style?
For me, as I think about it, one, it's about hiring the right people who are insatiably curious, who understand the role they play in the organization and that it's up to them for us to accomplish big things. And then we hold each other accountable, so that when we come up with something, we also know that we're going to follow through. Providing trust in the team, that when they're good at what they do and they prove that they can be successful and they understand the strategy, you let them run. And in the meantime, we fill in the gaps and we figure out where skill level or where experience isn't there. We find ways to bring in enough management and enough leadership where they feel like they're not on an island by themselves trying to solve something they've never done before. So it's a balance.
I've interviewed quite a few CEOs, CMOs, VP level individuals, and I want to identify something that you've done that they do as well. It's everything you just said, you're speaking in terms of we. It's never I and them, it's always we. And I feel like that empathy, like that we're all in the weeds, as you were saying, like that really is what carries teams forward and keeps morale high and keeps people feeling like we're all in it, including Mike, who maybe could, be on a cruise somewhere and just
That'd be nice.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later. And you could be, just here's some edits to what you're already doing. So maybe talk about, I know you're analytical, but you obviously have that empathy I want people in the right seats where they'll thrive.
Yeah. I hadn't intentionally, I didn't think specifically about the I's versus the we's, but it really is a team. And regardless of the team that you work on, we're trying to solve the same problem and we're working together and we all have different roles. And sometimes I have more bandwidth to help in certain areas than in other times. And we figure that out. But I think if it wasn't for every person on the team and them pulling their weight and looking for, how do I innovate myself? How do I bring this thing that I'm working on or this concept that I'm working on to the next place? I'd be a team of one trying to figure out a bunch of things out myself, and that would never work.
Now, in terms of, I guess, getting everyone comfortable with conflict. Like we talk about, there is a need for transparency. There's a need for conflict. There's a need for everyone to be open to scrutiny, criticism. But how do you orchestrate that?
Business in and of itself and working in marketing is about decision making.
Yeah.
And is about, do you head down this path or do you head down that path? And people will have different perspectives on how you get there. I think there's inherent, if everybody had the same ideas, it would be boring and you wouldn't get very far. And so the idea that people can bring their own experiences and their own thoughts to the table, and be able to articulate them and hopefully have data that would support the direction they're going, I think gives for a robust conversation. And then at the end of the day, we figure out what is the best path. And there are times where, the CMO or the CEO has to make hard decisions based off as much information as they have, as the experience they have as a team, and how well the team has been able to articulate the problem and the answer. But I don't think there's a one right answer, because I think it really depends on the situation, and sometimes you have to make a decision based on a lack of data. And that's where I'll draw on my 20 years of experience to go, okay, this is how I've seen it done in the past, and this is what I'm comfortable with, and we're gonna charge down that path together.
Now, I've spoken at a number of universities, and I know, inevitably someone will say, well, how do you, go into a situation not knowing what the outcome should be, or having that book of experience. And, I'll relate my experience of being an expat in Israel, a very hard industry and a hard country. And remember saying, oh, you learn the art of failing fast. And I had one student call me on that, and they were like, what does that mean? So, Mike, what would that mean to you? Like, if we can placate someone with learn to fail fast and pivot, but really, what does that mean? I mean, other than...
What does it mean to fail fast? I'm in the marketing space, and it's what we do every day. We run campaigns, and we have ideas of, okay, I think it's going to be this, but it could be that. And we're gonna A/B test, and we're gonna see. And the faster we can figure out which one if you fail, it's not a failure, it's a lesson learned. Mm-hmm. I mean, I look back at my ancestry days, and we probably ran, 200 campaigns over the course of the time that I was there, and only 40 or 50 of them really took off. But it was a learning process for each one of those to go, okay, that one didn't work. What are the reasons? Okay, it was the wrong timing. It was the wrong message. It was the wrong audience. And then we went, okay, how do we fix that so that the next time we don't have to, we can set ourselves up for more success in the future. And I think I've tried to do that with every company that we've been at. Okay, we're doing this landing page test, and this is really radical change. But there are some times where you hit it out of the park, and there's some times where you're like, oh, that was terrible. And you crush your fingers that you don't lose a whole lot of your business, and you do that, but you have to give yourself the ability to fail, because that's the only way you're going to be able to win.
I think that's a great way to say it, because most people think, oh, hero's journey, they fail once and then all of a sudden they recover, I
want that hero's journey.
Right, me too. But that 200, experiments to get 40 successes, we need to talk more about that. We need people to know that maybe don't overly buy into everything that you do. I mean, enough that you're willing to split test and you're willing to abandon the baby, of sorts, if you're going to move forward.
Yeah, and I think I've learned that at Grow over the last couple of months, as we're still small enough company that we're trying to figure out where the business model should go, and how much to charge, and what our packaging will look of our software will be, and how much do we provide, and I think that's actually been really fun and scary over the course of the last few months to learn, because we haven't nailed it yet, and we're still trying to figure it out. But every time we do, we learn that much more to go, okay, that part worked. Now let's go focus on this area.
I think that's great to share, because you at the helm, I'm sure a lot of people think, well, Mike has it all figured out. Mike has seen things. He knows where we're going, but it's the testing and learning phase of literally every single company that, it's later, it's nostalgic to share that story. But when you're in the mix of it, business is kind of chaotic, kind of messy. You try a lot of things. It takes you far more time to get momentum than you think. But that momentum comes from all of this.
Absolutely. I mean, every company that I've ever been at, I take things that I've learned from those places and apply them, but they never work the same way. There's so many other variables. There's the size of a company and the experience of a team, and the audience you're going after, and the product that you're selling. All of those things have such large levers to be pulled that you can apply concepts, and you can apply experience, but you may get a completely different outcome with all the different kind of cards you're dealt in the next round.
Yeah. So split testing, A, B, and C kind of plans.
Absolutely.
Super important. If you were to advise someone just starting out in their career in terms of either what they look for in a job opportunity or the types of skills they should be cultivating for themselves, what would you advise? Like priority number one?
I think there's a few things that I could talk about. I think my biggest one, and the thing that I harp on in for myself and other companies, is go somewhere where you're going to learn something, and be dedicated to learn it, and to learn beyond what the role itself is about. Because honestly, the way that I've grown my career is because I did when I was an analyst at Ancestry early on in my career, I knew more about the customer journey and about how customers bought and why they bought and what they bought than anybody else in the organization. And that actually got me my next job in retention marketing, which I was asked to apply everything that I understood to how do we get them to stay? How do we get them to engage on our website? How do we get them to upsell? And so, and every other change that I've made in my career really boils down to, was I insatiably curious? Was I scrappy? Did I expand myself beyond the role that I'm in currently and look for ways to be more valuable than what the role itself may have been scoped to be? And can I show that I'm going to work harder than anybody else? I think that's my biggest advice, and the learning side, which is really like even today. I'll go home and I'll mow the lawn, and I've got 3 or 4 podcasts, and I've got blog posts that I'll read when I get into the office, and I'll listen to books as I drive into the office, and it's those things that are helping me think about, okay, well, I've got these problems to solve at work. And can I listen to somebody else or that has a similar problem, or it may not even be completely related, but it will give me ideas of, man, I could apply that into the current problem I have that I'm dealing with now. So there's an old movie from the 90s that was about selling, and it was talking about ABS, or always be selling. And for me, it's ABL, it's always be learning.
And that's so true. I mean, at the agency, just agency life, you get trained. But it's the employees, the marketers that go and learn a whole other platform or look at it with fresh eyes and say, hey, what if we changed up the protocol for this? I guarantee you that their career trajectory is going to be like to the moon.
And it's more fun and it's more engaging. And how boring is it to come into the job and be like, I'm just going to do this and then I'm going to go home? I mean, how much more fun is it to go, I understand and I can apply what I'm learning here to other parts of the organization. I can be the person that people come to like, hey, I've got this problem. Have you ever thought about it? I have, or I haven't. Let me go think about it, and let's come back together and let's problem solve these things together. I had an employee once who we were in an interview process, and he came and he said, I know Pardot better than anyone else in Utah. And I said, prove it to me. And he did. And I went, we were using Pardot at the time, but that didn't matter, because I was like, you understand the concept of becoming the best in something and then broadening yourself. And that's the type of person that I'm looking for on my team.
And there's an energy, like I sense your energy in the just talking about learning, and that has to rub off on your team.
Work on it.
Yeah, I want that. I want to drink that juice there. Now, my last question for you is always the big one, and always maybe the tricky one for people. It's about.
Great. Do we want to stop the camera so we can think about it before we?
No, this is unedited. This is raw. It's about your legacy. What is it that you, Mike Ward, want to be remembered for?
See, and once again, this is where you're going to get so many better answers from so many other people.
I don't know.
I think
pretty articulate here.
What is my legacy? I have no idea. I think for me, I love. If I think about what I would want to, what I hope that people that work with me would want to do more of, it boils down to find a team, find a company that you're passionate about, and a team that you can work with well. One of my former bosses, Josh Hanna from Ancestry, early on in my career said, "You spend more time at work with the people at work than you do with people at home. So make sure the people at work you like and you want to work with them, and that it becomes a second family." Mm-hmm. And so find that team, find the company and the role that you're passionate about. Be insatiably curious, and always be learning. I think, and be nice. Be a nice person, and be a person that everybody else is like, yeah, I want him to hang out with or be mentored by, and I think those types of things for me are the things that I think about when I leave this company. did I leave something behind that people will be better for it when I'm gone? I feel like I'm writing my obituary. By the way.
Okay. We'll transcribe this and we'll deliver it too. But I love that because you can be exceptional at what you do and you can just be a horrible person to work with. And that's what people remember you for. And that can overshadow all that goodness, that otherwise goodness that you would have been contributing.
Yeah, for me, it really is be exceptional and be super and be approachable and be somebody that you, when you run into them a few years later, then go, I'm going to avoid you because I don't really like you, and feel like life's too short to be a jerk. So.
And with that, thank you for sitting down. This has been a super fun conversation.
Thanks, it's been great. I hope you got what you were wanting to out of it. It's been super fun.
Awesome. Okay, well, I hope to have more conversations with you.
Thanks so much.